are Daryl Morey and the 76ers being too picky with Ben Simmons deals?
All right, Izzy, you first. This is your bag.
Woo. Well, so apparently part of the reporting out here is that there's the James Harden to Philadelphia remains something of a possibility, whether it be in the offseason or whether it be now. It seems more likely in the offseason, right? Because James Harden isn't probably giving up on this Nets team, or they're not giving up on him this year. And there's also other suitors, as Shams reported there. It says, the Hawks, the Kings, the Blazers, the T-Wolves, and the Pacers. And the initial question was, are the 76ers and Daryl Morey being too picky with Ben Simmons? Then I've been saying this for a while now. In terms of like the way these 76ers look and the way Joel Embiid operates and is working this season, the way that offense has looked mostly, the first third of the season, they don't need a superstar upgrade. They just need some more talent around them. And I do think they're being slightly picky. However, if you're thinking of this scenario here, and this is one that I'm intrigued by, is neither the Nets nor the 76ers win the championship this year. And then you've got James Harden as a free agent and never really had the chance of being his free agent and picking his own team. And Daryl Morey, the guy who made an MVP out of him in Houston, is still sitting there with Ben Simmons lingering and doesn't have a partner for that. I would say that would be the way to go, probably for both parties. I don't think James on a team with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant can ever really be back to the guy that he was in Houston. I do think he can be with a post-dominant guy like Joel Embiid, and they can operate together and see if he can win that championship that way. Although, in that scenario, 3 teams in 4 years for James Harden might seem a little much for him, a little sort of a career gone awry, if you will, after doing all that in Houston. So I am intrigued by that scenario. All the others, I mean, a John Collins here or another player out west, C.J. McCollum there, I don't know if that's necessarily going to do it because he's held out this long already.
You've hit the Olynyk name bomb twice, Alabaster. We see you, okay? Kelly Olynyk is going to get his name mentioned.
Oh, you go with Olynyk. I go with Olynyk.
Is it Olynyk?
Probably debatable.
Whatever. Listen, the guy tore up the Wizards one time in a way that made me not care about pronouncing his name to the point that they knocked him out of the playoffs. So, listen, he's a nice guy and a good player, but whatever. I was just reading it off.
Man is drinking juice wrong and is pronouncing Kelly Olynyk.
Wow. Okay. Hi. Happy Wednesday, June. What are your thoughts on the 76ers?
Well,
trade
I
possibilities?
think the idea of Harden and Embiid playing together is interesting because it's almost a flip dynamic of the Dwight Howard Harden situation, however many years ago in Houston, where you have Howard on the kind of backside of his career trying to win a championship. I do think it's interesting that one of the most interesting factors I think about the situation almost has nothing to do with Ben Simmons, but has to do with Joel Embiid and his health. Because we have been talking about Joel Embiid and his health for the entirety of his NBA career, and with big guys, sometimes it's just one thing and then it's gone. Like it goes so quickly for a lot of these big guys, and I think that has to bring a sense of urgency to Philadelphia and how they're approaching the situation, because you never know what's going to happen with Joel Embiid. He looks great now. He looks healthy now, and he's been playing really, really well. I think he's been playing better since he's had to take on more of a load in Philadelphia. But I think that there needs to be a sense of urgency in terms of surrounding him with talent, because we don't know what's going to happen with Joel Embiid next year, let alone a month from now, because we've seen it with guys like Yao Ming in the past where a guy can be a super talented center who's dominating the league one day and then just a handful of knee things happening, a back thing happening, and then all of their skills are just kind of drained. So I think that's one of the biggest factors in the situation, I think.
Yeah, I agree that Joel Embiid long-term is probably another reason why, you need a superstar there as opposed to just a piece or two. But I'm curious of what you would think, the East seems pretty open. I mean, the Bucks, if the Bucks sort of, become what we think that they can be this year, I think they're probably going to lead the East and be the front runners there. But Kyrie Irving digging his feet in with the vaccine thing, probably not available for home games for the whole year, despite that whole idea of a fine, being able to pay a fine, because the NBA just won't let that happen. It's like, nope, we're just not going to let you skip that rule. We're not going to look bad as a result. So it doesn't feel like home games are a possibility for Kyrie. The Miami Heat, while they have been up there, you never really know. Chicago Bulls, you don't know. And so if you have the opportunity to make a significant upgrade, despite the fact that Joel Embiid said there's no urgency to change anything right now, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to sort of, take that leapfrog to the top of the Eastern Conference if you have that possibility with, 2 months to get it together before the playoffs?
Well, I think you answered your own question there a little bit, Izzy, because the idea of getting it together is what the hard part is in the NBA. You look at a team like the Lakers that got all these guys, and they've been trying to get it together ever since the season started, and that hasn't exactly happened. I do think if somebody like Joel Embiid, the team leader of that squad from a basketball standpoint and from a locker room standpoint, says, listen, not much needs to change, I'm not changing much. I realize that the injury factor is a major thing, but if that guy is not in the mood to be upsetting the apple cart and he's what makes that engine go, you've got to believe, based on what you said, Izzy, that you've got a pretty good shot. Now, I do want to refer back to something you said, which is if the Nets or the Sixers don't win the NBA championship, the likelihood of Harden leaving is higher. I'm not sure that I would understand why. Why wouldn't Harden win a title and maybe still walk away? He's got the ring at that point. He maybe wants to do something else in a different space. I just think that what the Sixers have been doing this whole time is what kind of has annoyed me about this to begin with, which is, who do you want? Like, what kind of a player do you want? Because it seems that asking price alone is kind of too generalized a thing when you're thinking about what it is you're trying to plug into your roster. Now, you said you want to wait out for Bradley Beal. Okay, he's a totally different player than James Harden. Like, what are you actually trying to do? And I feel like I haven't gotten an answer to that from the Sixers. I've gotten sort of a generalized, well, we'll know it when we'll see it. And that, to me, is good enough reason not to just jump and do something just for the sake of doing it, because the East is wide open. And as far as I'm concerned, the Sixers could win it right now just fine, Izzy. And trying to mess up with the chemistry is not necessarily...
I think they can with what they... Side note, by the way, I do think that if James Harden wins a championship, he can leave also. I was just saying that more so as an assumption that it won't happen because the season's kind of a mess now with KD out for a while and Kyrie, etc. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there is, like, I think it's easier for these if you're going to try to incorporate less of a superstar player and more of a star role player, if you will. It's, you know, if you bring in a James Harden, I don't think in the middle of a season, I don't think you're necessarily going to get it together that quickly, especially with a unique guy like Joel Embiid. But
thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.